Yeah, well, Kathy specifically said, she specifically said in the thumbnail, no thumbs up, right? And no gang symbols, no gang signs, right?
So I
told her, I said, I don't know what to do. If we don't do a thumbs up, you know what I mean? It's like that's how we've been doing these.
I just resorted to my 1980s rap pose.
Okay, yeah, that works. I wish I had one. I don't have one. No, John Wilburn, you're not first. You're second. John S. was first. Clearly, you can see that directly above you. Dallas, can you turn that camera down just a hair?
Oh, man.
I misestimated. I underestimated. I miscalculated. John S., what's happening? George Bonnie.
How about there?
A little bit more. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay. Bill McKiska, Gris Greenaway, Boss Racing. King Eric the Greatest. Fubar. It's Fubar the Axe.
Frank no more tomfoolery on here now.
No, nobody gets away with anything now. That's done. We're locked down. We're locked down and locked in. Okay. So, are you ready to do this? I'm not ready to do this.
I'm a little bit out of it just because the way today is.
Let's see. Blown Budget Garage. Heard you were racing Just Mopar Joe? You racing Just Mopar Joe?
No.
I'm not racing Just Mopar Joe. I have no idea who you're talking about. Well, I know who Just Mopar Joe is. I don't know where you're getting it. We're racing.
Yeah, no. As far as I know, he's not racing Tony or myself at the No Name Nationals.
Toast. So I just about lost my wheel on the Dakota. Wheel bearing and hub assembly is gone. Whipped out. It's toast.
Yeah.
Shall we put that together?
Yeah, right? Yeah. Toast. His name is Toast.
His name is Toast, and his front hub assembly is Toast. Let's see. Boss Racing. Trump was on Full Send podcast today. Was he? Okay, I'll have to look at that. Blown Budget Garage. There were rumors everywhere. It was
for
No Name Nationals.
Yeah.
You must be going nuts
every day.
Every day.
It's emails and phone calls and question marks, and it's just hard to sort out.
Yeah.
Because you get stuff like, Just Mopar Joe racing you, even though everyone knows clearly that you got a bet going on with Andy.
Right, I'm racing Andy. That's it.
For 4,000 beans, right?
$4,000.
Yeah, well, I like to refer to it as beans because by then I don't know what we're going to be using as cashola.
Well, that's a good possibility. I mean, we could be trading wampum or, you know what I mean? We could wheat, stacks of wheat. That was currency at some point. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, I'm ready. Andy, what are we going to do? So, Andy, what are we going to do with our wager if the dollar just hyperinflates between now? What else can we race for? Not wheat. Grain used to be a currency. Like the Egyptians used grain as a currency, right?
Abel Deese has a good question here. Uncle Tony, have you ever used McMaster's Cars website? It's great for hardware. The shipping is great.
Yes. Okay. So I responded to the comments in that video, right? That's not the point. That's not the freaking point. The point is, it's a simple dowel pin. It's something that I should be able to. I've always I've always been able to go to an auto parts store, say, "Hey, I need a 3/16 dowel. I need a 1/8 dowel. I need a 1/4 inch dowel. Whatever happens to be, right?" And they're there. They're in the dormant box. Right? Everybody's got them. No, they're not around. So for me forget about me in this job that I'm working on. Let's say I'm a shop, okay, and I've got one of my bays tied up, and I need this friggin' dowel pin. That means I got to stop what I'm doing, leave this car apart. Go order a dowel pin, okay? And then wait for 2 days for the freaking thing to show up.
And you forgot the most important part. You lost money while it's in your bay.
Of course, you're losing money all the time.
Right.
That doesn't apply to my exact situation. Yeah, I know I could wait 2 days, but to have to wait 2 days or a day even, just a day, is ridiculous. It's a job that should be, okay, here, dowel pin, and it's done, and you move on. It shouldn't be an event. That's the problem. That's the point of it.
Papillon Cycles is digging on the Power Nation did a 455 apparently that made 628 horse on pump gas.
That's pretty stout.
Yeah, and I guess he's yammering on about how light it is. He's impressed.
Yeah, they don't weigh anything. It's a lightweight casting. You
Do you-
look at the thing and you say, "Oh my god, that's got to be like."
I'll tell you how lightweight it is. We did a video on all the 455 parts,
And you
and I was carrying a block. I was
Yeah.
holding the block when we did the photo. There
Yeah.
not anything under it. There's no engine hoist. That's me.
And it's funny because like you look at something like the nail head is absurdly heavy.
It's like the opposite, yeah.
Right, it's the opposite. One is like 800 pounds, and then the other one's like 450 pounds.
Yeah, it's so a full dress 455 weighs 25 pounds more than a full dress small block Chevrolet. Okay, so James Kaiser, hey Dallas, I received a birthday card from the AHRA. Yeah, we do that.
Did I go past your?
Well, I was reading it, but it was no big deal. I kind of was reading it as it was going, but it's yeah, we do that. We the other sanctioning bodies. The only time you hear from them is when you owe them money, and so I felt it was kind of prudent to like send you something besides a bill.
Let's see. Doug Jones, if it's not sold once a week, the parts stores don't stock it anymore. Yeah, I'm seeing that.
And then you know what? There's not many people out doing dowel replacements.
Well, that's the
anymore.
truth. That's the truth. See now, okay. So in the old days, right? You go back to like the 70s, the 80s, when
Everybody was a
the
mechanic.
90s. You take assembly apart, okay, and it's got gaskets and everything, and it's got dowel pins. Well, you throw a vice grip on the dowel pin, you heat it a little bit with a torch, and you pluck it out, and then you clean your gasket surfaces, and then, like a gentleman, you take a new dowel pin and you stick it in there, and you're done. And this was a common everyday occurrence. This isn't like oh, it's a special procedure. No, this is like everybody did it every day, right? It's not a problem. So I mean, so for something like a dowel pin to not be available is just absurd to me.
Yeah, I think it's probably a combination of a lot of things, right? But I think the big one is there isn't people that really wrench on their stuff anymore. I mean, look at it this way. They all want to go to, well, not all, a majority of the people not watching this want to move to an EV so they don't have to freaking work on anything.
Most people don't want EVs. I watch, because like they've been doing this propaganda, like thing like on Facebook, right?
Right.
Where it's like EVs, or it's like electric toasters were weird ones too, right? I'm making a comparison.
Right.
Hair dryers are weird ones too. You got all of these ads, and there'll always be like 7,000 comments, and they're all like, shove your EV. I don't want your EV. You know what I mean? Go hug your tree. I'm going to drive my gasoline car. It's like there's thousands of comments. Nobody wants a friggin' EV. There's 12 people that want a friggin' EV.
Oh, I don't doubt it. Mopar Man 1978 says, like a blacksmith, maybe a Dowler needs to make a comeback.
Let's see. Able D, UTI, blame your pin event on Radio Shack's business model, trying to sell you a phone instead of electronic components. Abel, I'm sure it's clear to you, bro, but it's not clear to me. I don't get the connection. Radio Shack jumped the shark like 20 years ago, easy.
Yeah, what's funny is I fixed that computers in my truck, that Ford Mustang computer. I pulled 3 capacitors out of it. I had to pull out my flux, and it's like it says Radio Shack on it. I don't know how long ago I bought it, probably 25 years ago, but it's still taking me 25 years to use 1 tube of flux. So there's no doubt in my mind why Radio Shack isn't still around.
Well, here's an interesting comment. NSB Custom Cars. My work has been having to use different size bolts because some lengths are getting harder to find. Get ready, folks. Interesting.
Oh, I stockpile the crap out of bolts.
Yeah, it's rare that I buy bolts because I have. Okay, so here at the shop, I have coffee cans full of bolts, right? Random bolts full of random nuts, full of random washers and stuff like that, screws. At the house, I have a Fastenal cabinet that's just jammed with everything you could think of as far as bolts, nuts, bolts, and whatnot. So I very rarely buy bolts. Cranky Crow wants to know, Dallas, what's the biggest shot of nitrous you ever hit?
Well, okay, so I used to do this. Remember, this is way back before there was a such thing as street outlaws. In 2001, 2, and 3, I really used to play with nitrous a lot, 4 and 5. Not so much because they closed the track when I was in Hawaii, but All right. So I used to do 150 off the line and then a 150 shot at the 60-foot mark. So you had a 2-stage setup. So it'd be a total of 300 shot of nitrous.
Heavyweight 88. At what point do you not reuse main and rod bearings? Or do you replace them anytime you go in that deep? This 351 Windsor has been rebuilt. No idea when the cleave-out bearings and has very little bronze showing. If there's any bronze showing, it's time to replace them.
Yeah.
Right. You know,
bronze is the last.
it's
It's the last covering before you get to steel babbitt or like the steel backing.
Yeah, the steel, right. So yeah, no, if you've got bronze showing, it's done. And you know what? I've never seen a Ford engine with more than, let's say, 80 or 100,000 miles on it that didn't have that bronze showing. It's only Fords. I don't know why that is, but no, Now, personally, I mean, here's the thing, right? If an engine led a healthy life, okay, and it didn't have contaminants like dirt or anything get through the oiling system, metal get through the oiling system, and mar up the bearings, an engine can have literally 1 trillion miles on it. If the bearing never saw a metal to metal contact, if the bearing was always,
if you didn't have detonation, if it was ideally tuned,
right,
and it was well maintained,
it's eternal. I mean, there literally is never a reason to change a bearing if there hasn't been some sort of trauma that happened to it, right? And in that case, with the Babbitt, that's usually or the bronze showing, it's usually like oil starvation on startup and stuff like that, where it takes a little while for the oil to get through. A clogged bypass in the filter, and a clogged filter with a heavy bypass, where it takes a few seconds for the oil to get to the crankshaft and start lubricating things. That's generally the kind of thing that causes that. But if the bearings don't show anywhere, if they don't show anywhere at all, literally eternal, they're forever. But in your case, nope, move forward.
Let's see. Biggers Media saying ever coming to Dragway 42. Not that I know of. I tried hitting them up 2 years ago for AHRA, and they were definitely not down. I'll put it like that. And I know that management's changed since then, but I haven't called them back.
Dragway 42. I don't think I've ever been to Dragway 42.
It's outside of Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, I know where it is. I don't think I've ever been there though.
Hey, well, check it out. Just like about 2-3 years ago, they took that whole track and they lengthened it and they flipped it around.
Was that the one that had the steep hill at the end of the shutoff?
That's the one I got in Ohio.
In Ohio.
KD Dragway.
KD Dragway.
Yeah.
Okay, we did an exhibition there once.
Did you really?
Fuel car, yeah. It's got a long. It's just like
up a hill, like
from the starting line. It looks like you're going to run into a cliff.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's downhill, and then it's got an uphill shutoff, which is actually pretty badass.
Yeah. I remember it was like an optical illusion there. It looks like the track just ends like the. Let's see. Steve Meggs tear down. Steve did a tear down. What did he tear down?
I wonder if he tore down the motor that was in that police car. Wasn't the police car a 383 motor?
I have no. Was it? Maybe it was a 318.
Oh, I don't know. I thought it was a 383.
I know he's doing like a Max Wedge clone based on a 440. But I have no idea. Bruce Beamer, would you break in a cam with roller lifters? Intercept? No. Still no chance of any. No, you don't have to. Roller lifter doesn't require any break-in whatsoever. Just make sure it's got oil in the rollers. You know what I mean? But just dip them in oil before you.
Yeah, I used to just soak them. I just pour a quart of motor oil in a little tub and then throw them all in. Let them sit there for a day or two, get all the air out. Shake them up too.
Let's see, Dennis McCormick. This is a good question. Could you go over the slang used to describe mistuned carbs, bogging, stuttering, etc., etc.? What do they mean? Can you translate these terms into how an engine actually misbehaves?
Okay, bogging is easy. That's when you mat it and the thing just falls right on its face.
Well, you don't even necessarily have to mat it. You just need to
give it gas,
right? And instead of it reacting smoothly, power will go away as you give it gas. That's a bog.
Yeah.
Carburetors generally don't stutter. If you have a stuttering issue, it's 99% of the time it's going to be ignition.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's see. Okay, so you're talking about Steve Meigs for his 513 for the police car. Okay.
Right. He tore apart that 440, I guess.
Let's see. Bog is a delay of power. Couldn't have said it better.
Will a vacuum advance cause stalling on 318?
Will vacuum advance cause stalling on 318?
No, I would say no, unless it's a vacuum leak, like the diaphragm's bad. But I don't see it even causing a problem like that at all, stalling.
No, I couldn't see that either. I mean, if there is something happening within the vacuum advance that's making it stall, it means that you have a more severe problem someplace else. So it's stalling based on anything to do with vacuum advance is not the cause, but the symptom. So you have to find what's causing that. Let's see. Hey, Hill, anyone have a 3/16 roll pin? No, I can't use a roll pin. It's got to be a dowel. A roll pin is high. It's for the shifter. You know, it's when you shift a motorcycle, that shift drum turns, right? And that okay. It takes a bit of effort, and if I use like a roll pin would crush. You see what I'm saying? It has to be a dowel pin.
Matt S says, if you want to see something fun, just take a gas can, fill it with sugar water, leave it in the back of your truck, and watch the game begin.
What is he wearing?
He said, take a gas can and fill it full of sugar water.
Okay.
And then watch the game.
Because
people are going to steal it.
People are going to be stealing it. Yeah. Tell me, does the dowel you need hardened steel? As far as I know, all dowels are hardened steel.
All right. What does that say? Dalton Petron says, can you run 4 pounds of boost on a stock ring gap on a Chevy 350? I would say yes.
Yeah, 4 pounds.
You're probably fine up to about 10.
8 to 10.
Yeah.
8 to 10.
And if it's a motor with any kind of miles on it, 10 would be easy, right? Yeah. Like if it's a high mileage motor, you might be able to do 12.
Well, that's it. I did a video with that actually. How turbocharging. The nice thing about turbocharging is that, and nitrous for that matter too, is that if you're starting with an older engine, it's got 200,000 miles on it, right? You're kind of ahead of the game because the rings are already worn, the cylinder walls are already worn, and the ring gap is already open. So you don't have to worry about crushing them up. It's when you got a fresh engine with a tight gap.
You know, here's something that I've never seen anyone discuss, but I know it amongst old school racers, it used to be the thing, the seasoned block, right? And I always like to use junkyard motors. If you're going to do a home built, like a performance engine that you're going to lean on hard, right. I always use stuff that's like 100, 200,000 miles and go get them. And then you just, whatever machine work you need to do really. But when you use the seasoned block, it's already settled, right? It's been through so many heat cycles that it's settled the way it's going to settle. And all of the stress is pretty much relieved from the block. Is kind of the idea behind it. Did you ever find any value in the seasoned block?
I have not, but there are certain people who race class cars, stock eliminator cars and whatnot, machinists, people who machine precision stock eliminator, super stock motors, and even back in the day, pro stock motors. They all sort the seasoned blocks.
Really?
And it makes sense. It makes sense.
Right.
But I see, here's the thing. And you two, the two of us, we don't deal with anything that's so precision that you're going to see the 3 horsepower.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
But when you're operating at a different level, when you're operating at that
high science and you're looking level, for the 3 horsepower,
then it makes sense.
Right. Just like the 7 pounds per 1,000 RPM, the minimum that you could run on an oil pump before you start having problems. Those guys were doing that. They were shaving the oil pumps down.
Mm-hmm. Gas is $4 a gallon here in East Texas. It's $4.20. It's in the $4.20 range, $4.25.
Oh, range really? I just bought some yesterday for $3.99.
Yeah, it's up today. Yeah.
It's not stopping. There's no end in sight.
French Onion is switching to a carb before the Russian EMP hits. Peter DeSanto, seeing the YouTube videos lately of people crushing old cars because of the price of scrap.
Well, that's been the way that happened a few years ago. Yeah.
George Pahountis, $10 in Greece. Is that $10 American or is that $10? I don't even know what kind of money you guys use there in Greece.
I used to know. I probably have some.
Let's see.
That's
keeping my points for nuclear war. 409 in Idaho.
See, generally we got like some of the cheapest gas in the U.S.
Kevin, Tony, I go to Case International Harvester for little crap like hardened pins, bolts, etc.
Oh,
okay.
George says it's €220 per liter.
Yeah,
So
I don't know what that means. It's
$10 a gallon.
$10 a gallon. Jesus. Dirty Bird 71. Dowel pins can be found in lawnmower engines to locate the upper block to the lower pin. Yeah, there's zillions of common applications for them, which is what blew my mind that I can't find any. Let's see.
Man, why are we talking about gas prices? I already had forgotten about it since we were doing this live.
Even Elon says start drilling. Well, Elon's no dummy, you know. $6.70 a gallon in Manitoba. Oh, jeez. $3.99 in McMinn County, Tennessee. Oh God. Why Andy's saying I picked the perfect time to get Casper back on the road. I'm telling you, man, it's going to cost us $10 a gallon. Our bet money is going to end up going towards fuel. You realize that, right? If inflation keeps going, we're going to have to run for 40 grand instead of 44. Let's see. Time to buy a moped. I'm way ahead of you guys. I'm way ahead of you guys. Joe K wants to know how many gallons of gas will be consumed at the no-name nationals.
Not many. We're all going to have EVs.
Gonna have to run the 1/16th mile to save gas. Hook, line, and fishing. I have a large assortment of dowel pins at work. I appreciate the offer, but I mean, I've already done it. It's done. It's over. You know what I mean? I've already. I found some bolts. I cut them down. I didn't put it back together again yet, but it's done.
Travis Mopar Garage, one of the Road to 500 guys, the No Name Nationals 500.
Only 55 more subs?
Yeah, he's got 55 more to go to be eligible for the No Name Nationals. Go sub,
guys. Go
Travis
over there
Mopar
and sub
Garage.
It doesn't cost you anything to sub. That's the beautiful thing about YouTube. It doesn't cost you anything. You just hit the button. Not subbed, right? Sub to Travis. Get him his 55. Let's try to get him his 55 tonight.
Murray Lilly says, hello from Perth, Western Australia. Fuel is $2.50 a liter per here. I don't know what that is. I have no reference point for that. You're going to have to convert it or change it to something that makes sense. Is it 3 liters equals 2 gallons? Or equals 1 gallon? I'm sorry.
I don't know. We won that war. I don't know why there's still all of this metric stuff.
I know, and I've always said this. There's only two types of people in the world: those who use the metric system and those who have been to the moon. Right? So, sorry, we did a moon landing.
French Onion, good thing you bought that Honda scooter, Tony. People are like, motorcycles. I don't want to see motorcycles on this channel. Blah 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 blah. Right? Well, I'll tell you what. Right? Give it 3 years. Okay, give it 3 years from where we are right now. Okay, and I will absolutely guarantee you this: if you want to participate in any sort of gearhead mechanical thing, right, and have fun with vehicles, it's going to be on 2 wheels. I will absolutely guarantee that. The days of screwing around with cars for the average person are rapidly coming to an end. So, either get with the program and start accepting things that have 2 wheels instead of 4, or just move on to a different hobby. Go find something else to do. And that's not my rules. You know what I mean? That's not my rules. But we're in a situation now, okay, where we have zero manufacturing in this country. We have a hyperinflationary. The dollar is just absolutely being decimated, and it's in the process of losing its world reserve currency status. We are on our way to becoming a third world nation, whether you like it or not. Whether we can recover or not is a completely different story. But we are going to bottom out, and we're a long way from bottomed out right now. And during that bottoming out process, the cost of doing anything with a 4-wheel car is just absolutely, it's just not going to happen. So start looking at them 2-wheelers, man. If you want to screw around with engines, shit like that, that's the place to be. Let's see. Levi's Backyard Performance. Thank you, brother. Travis has one sweet Aspen. My mother drove one to high school. I need 339 subs before I can go. He needs. Okay. All right, let's get. Come on, Levi needs 339 subs. 339, right? We can do this.
There's 295 people on here right now.
There's 303. Okay, yeah.
Get over there and sub to Levi's Backyard
Get over
Performance.
there. Yeah, let's get him over the top tonight. Clayton, $5. Do you use a PCV on Bottle Rocket and Plan Z? If not, how do you rent the crankcase? Bottle Rocket has an evacuation deal in the headers, so I'm using the headers to pull crankcase pressure. Plan Z doesn't have anything at the moment, and I'll probably add something similar to that.
Yeah, because you don't have enough vacuum and idle to pull. You use a PCV, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toll Garage, Tony in Dallas, going to look at a 68 Dodge slant car on Saturday, 2-door barn condition. What ballpark should I shoot and pay? And you hit 130 subs today. Congratulations on your 130 subs, my friend.
Yeah, well, you might get 130 more if you pull that slant 6 Dart out and start driving it.
Oh, yeah, seriously? Man, the prices of regular cars, and I've been saying this, see, another thing I've been saying for the last couple of years, right? The prices of like slant 6 cars, darts and shit like that, it's going to skyrocket. If that's a 4-door, you're probably good. Oh man. If it's clean, solid car, 4-door, 3,000, 3,500. If it's a 2-door, clean, solid, between 7,000 and 10,000. The prices of these things is just absolutely absurd.
Really? I figured it'd be like $1,800.
No, not if it's solid.
That's not what I saw on Barrett Jackson. All right.
Let's see.
John S. says, seen a slant 6 D100 4x4 video today. Was it real?
I don't know.
Did you watch it?
I did not watch it. I have no idea.
Did he watch it?
He must have watched it.
Then it must have been real. Nothing on the internet's a lie.
SS Custom. Gas keep going up, Tony. Are you going to go electric? Or are you going to stay old school? I'll tell you what, bro. I'm 60, okay? I've got 10 years left. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I can ride it out. You know what I'm saying? I can ride it out. I'm going to stick with my gasoline. If I was in my 20s, it'd be a different story. But I'm not, so I don't care.
Oh well, Tall Garage says he thinks my guess, which was $1,800, is what he's paying if the seller keeps his word. So that's a good deal if it's a solid car.
Travis is saying, yeah, you could get a slant 4x4.
I just can't imagine that. But well, I guess if it had like a granny low manual, it would be all right.
The holes, Uncle Tony, maybe you should get into the parts game. Uncle Tony certified. You do a solid trade for sure. I was in the parts business before I started doing YouTube. I sold Mopar parts for about 10 years. So and I did really good with it. But no, I'm done with that. Let's see.
Ooh, what? Angel Gonzalez. Mechanic said, I don't need the same gear ratios in my 4x4. I think he's trying to pull a fast one. My front axle is a 4-to-1 and my rear is a 2-to-1. That's not gonna work, bro.
No, you're gonna. That's your transfer case is gonna like implode.
Yeah, you're gonna drive over the front of that truck. Oh, he's wrong. Yeah, he's way wrong on that. He says, "Tell me he's wrong," and doesn't want to admit his mistake. I don't know how you could have put a 2-to-1 gear in
I
the
don't
back of
either.
something. What came with a 2-to-1?
I don't know.
Something doesn't add up there.
Transfer case has to absorb the difference in front and rear. So it's like, no. Street Fox 347, Tony, I remember seeing you into Fox body Mustangs for 1 year, man. That was like 1987. That was it. I 87 into 88. And then, I went right from that to Top Fuel or to Nitro cars. So I just 1 year I was into those things.
What are some other niche cars that aren't in the spotlight and can still be bought for cheap, since darts and all their basic cars are so expensive? This is where I've been living at. This is the Buick Olds Pontiac realm. People forget about those.
He's right. John Wilburn, a lot of mud and dirt races run different ratios, front and rear, for controlled spin on the track. That is different than going down the road with everything locked down for any type of mileage. No, man.
Is it 100% difference, or is it 50% difference? I mean, still, that's a hell of a big difference.
If it's on the road, you know what I'm saying? If it's on the road,
you wouldn't be able to drive it.
No. Mud is different. Let's see. Granny's Blue Waffle. My Cressida used to be a niche car until everybody got into drifting. I didn't remember what year was your Cressida? Those are pretty neat cars, man. They were like popular in the 80s.
You know what is the ticket to get? The Starlet, the Toyota Starlet.
Those were cool.
Those are little dinky ass cars. They probably weighed 1,400 pounds or something.
But the Cressidas ran really good with that straight six in them.
I never saw one. Is that what kind of car is it? Is it Toyota?
Yeah.
So it's the same as like a Supra engine? Is that
I don't know if it was a Supra engine.
What is that engine called? The 22RE? Is that right? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. If it isn't named big block or small block, I have no clue. I'm not gonna lie.
Serge is saying the Toyota Starlet costs like a minimum of $15,000.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Austin says, oh Jesus, wow. The 5 MGE 2.8, 6 MGE 3.0. Those are the two engines that were in there.
See, and that's where alphabet soup. I can't even deal with it.
And a 3M 2.0. Yeah, but see, to them, it's like because guys who follow those things, it's like those designations are just like the same natural
like
as us.
350 Chevy.
318. Right? Super Duty 455. Or, you know what I mean?
2JZ, that's it. That's the one that everybody is in love with.
Okay. Hemi Kuda says the Cressida had a 2JZ, the same transmission automatic goes into XJ Jeeps. The AW4, huh?
Oh no, isn't it Asian? The Asian transmission?
Yeah, AW4.
Speaking of that, did you ever get the new tranny for your Hero?
It's just sitting there on the side. I have so many other things I'm working on.
I thought that guy was going to buy it back or something.
He was going to, and then he didn't, and now evidently one of Al's friends wants it, and I don't know what's going on. I just live in a fog, bro. I just roll from day to day. When I see you, I know it's Wednesday.
Oh well,
you know what I mean. That's the only way. That's my marker for the week.
Fair enough. I thought you were driving by here tonight, and you were like, "Whose white truck is that?" I'm going to stop at my shop and find out who that is.
Granny's Blue Waffle. Cressida has never had 2 JZs. I didn't think so, but I don't know enough to say so. The Cressidas that I remember were from 1982, 83, 84, like that. And I think that's way before the 2JZ was. But again, I don't know. All I remember about those cars is that in New York, they were fairly common and had a couple of customers that had them. And I was always impressed by them because they ran really good. Like they weren't rocket ships, you know what I'm saying? But they ran well enough for me to remember that those Cressidas were cool cars.
Well, Part Man 1978 says, what about the 80s Dodge Charger? but with a hopped up V6 or V8. Isn't the 80s Dodge Charger, isn't that the Mitsubishi?
Yeah, they only came with the 4 cylinders.
They were rear-wheel drive.
No, they weren't Mitsubishi. They were based off the K car platform. They had the two
Charger?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know what one you're talking about. Yeah, they're front-wheel drive. Those are the ones those are the ones with the Volkswagen transmission. Maybe they had a Volkswagen engine. I don't remember. The 1.6 liter? Because the 2.2 was the Chrysler motor, right?
They both the 2.2 and the 2.5. And the 2.6 was a Mitsubishi, but that wasn't available in those.
I thought it was a 1.6 in those things. And there was a
that was
Volkswagen
originally.
Oh.
So it was before they started calling them Chargers. That was just when it was the Omni.
Oh, Omni. Yeah, that's the one I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. Then a couple of years later, they came up with the Charger. Like the Charger had like a backwards facing hood scoop. And
that's right. They had a Shelby Charger.
That was later. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. The original Omnis and the Horizons had the 4 doors. They weren't even available in 2 doors. They were like clones, visual clones of the Volkswagen Rabbit, and they had Volkswagen motors.
Right. Yeah.
Let's see. LS Horizon. Okay, Serge, I think the cheapest niche cars around right now are old Volvos and Crown Victorias, but even they're getting expensive, sadly. The Crown Vic's been like a cult car for a long time. People, clean ones get some loot.
Well, the Volvo, see those square block Volvos?
I love those cars.
There's a in the 80s, Paul Newman bought one and put a 5-liter Mustang motor in it.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yes.
And it's literally like a bolt-in.
I forgot about that. Kathy had like a 77, 78, 240.
I always like the wagons. I always wanted a wagon, but man, I tell you that finding one in decent shape these days is like, phew. And then they know what they got.
She made her drive like a maniac. Because back then, like the whole thing with Volvo was how safe they were. So she felt safe driving it. So she drove it like a maniac.
So you had to up the ante when you get behind the wheel of that safe Volvo, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I went and looked at one the other day. I've been shopping for a wagon for a while to haul my AHRA stuff around. And I went down there on, heading out of town towards Lebanon. There's a recovery kind of lot on the side of the road there that they wheel and deal and use stuff, and usually it's like, hey, I got the title application and no keys kind of crap, right? So I went by there the other day, and lo and behold, there's a red wagon in there, and I'm like, oh man, let me swing in there because I can't even recognize what that wagon is. And I pulled in there, and it's not often that I see a car that I can't recognize what it is by taillights or whatever. And the guy said, oh, yeah, that's a Saab, and you can go back there and take a look at it. So I went and looked at it, and it was the last year Saab that was made by Saab.
Okay.
But it's a front-wheel drive, but stick shift, and it's called a 9.3 Aero, and it's like supposed to be like a freaking rocket ship. It has a 2.8 liter turbocharged motor in it.
It sounds like a nightmare for getting parts.
Oh, it is. I've never seen another one.
Yeah.
I've never seen one, but I thought it was kind of cool. Travis, Mopar Garage says 49 to go now.
Wow, not bad.
Yeah, so you pulled in almost a 300.
Let's see. Martin Wallingford. My dream car is a 54 Studebaker Commander Regal Starliner hardtop. That's a very specific car. What color?
They didn't have any submodels in that or anything? GT? That's like literally the longest car name I've ever heard in my life.
Joe Marshall says, no one cares about 80s Mopar, Uncle Tony. Majority of us want you to focus on Gen 3 Hemi garage refreshes. I'm not doing any Gen 3 stuff. Mopar Al, on his channel, Mopar Al's Garage, or Mopar Al, he's doing Gen 3 stuff. I'm not doing any Gen 3 stuff. I have no interest in it. I just can't do it. As far as lack of interest in 80s cars, man, tell that to the rest of the people on this in this chat right now. Because there's a lot people are always asking me about 80s cars. I don't have any 80s cars. Do I have any 80s cars? No, I don't have any 80s cars. But people are there is
You got the
interest in them.
Caravan. Is that 80s or is that late 70s?
The Caravan is a 78.
Oh,
My the Wrecker is an 80.
there you go. You got an 80s truck.
I have an 80s truck. Let's see. I beat you to it, John. I said it. It's an 80. I said that. Okay. Joe K. Tony, what would your car fleet look like if you did not do YouTube? Oddly enough, it would look pretty much exactly what it is. I wouldn't have. Okay, if I didn't do YouTube, I've got that Miata sitting there, which I just have zero interest in. I can't bring myself to do anything with it. Runs great. I just have no interest in it. I wouldn't have Bottle Rocket. That would start it out as a channel project. Other than that, no. I would have exactly the same cars that I have right now. I had most of the cars that I have right now when we started this channel. I think there are even cars that I have that you guys haven't seen yet on this channel. Let's see.
Oh,
Lopar Mission, he likes 80s Mustangs. Well, there you go. I mean, the 80s Fox body was like, it's the 55 Chevy of the current, actually, yeah, I guess you call it that, right? But the 55 Chevy was 50.
Yeah,
the
that's
55
exactly
Chevy was in the 60s and the 70s.
The Fox body was to the 90s and 2000s. Yeah. Patrick Began says, yo, I have a Saab 9.3 Aero, 2007 6-speed stick, 2.8 turbo front wheel drive. In 08, the Aero was upgraded to Halidex all-wheel drive. They are rockets. I'll be selling it soon, though.
Because you can't get parts for it.
Yeah.
What did I say? It's got to be a parts nightmare.
Well, I actually didn't even know what it was. I had to look it up on my phone, right? And it said, when you get ready to let out on the clutch on this car, you better make sure both sides of the road are clear, right? And that's because it's torque steering all over the place. But I guess apparently that 2.8 is a pretty mean motor with that turbo on it.
Jonathan Couchy, thank you for the super chat, John. Put an 833 overdrive in an 85 Chrysler LeBaron. I had one that was factory. 4-door. With 224 gears for fuel efficiency. My brother is debating to put an A833 behind his slant 3.2 gears. Go for it. Actually, I think it's a better match with the 3.2 gears than it is for the 224 gears, because there's the overdrive, the 833 overdrive with 224 rear gear is like
150 gears.
Yeah, I mean, you're like seriously, like you'll be, you know what I mean? Like 100 miles an hour is going to be like 2,200 RPM. You know what I mean? It's a little crazy.
Let's see. I need to make 900 foot-pounds of torque at 3 RPM just so I can drive it around.
Where do you even get an 833 anymore? You know what? They are more common than you think. General Motors started putting them in Chevy pickups.
Yeah,
Chevy
they were
trucks.
in trucks all the way through 85.
87.
87? Okay.
So you can still find them at pull parts. They're fairly common. It's like every single time I go to the pull apart over here in Laverne, every single time there's another Chevy pickup in there, a GMC pickup that's got an 833 overdrive in it. Yeah.
I need to go snag one because those are set up with a Chevrolet bolt pattern to bolt to the GM bell housing.
Yeah.
Right. But what's cool about them is they come with a Hurst shifter from the factory on those things. And then it's all set up for GM. Man, you know what? That'd be badass. Put one in my Suburban with a Buick 455 or something. That would be cool.
They're bulletproof transmission. They're really strong. Let's see.
And the linkage and everything would work, huh?
Yeah.
I don't think those were hydraulic clutch.
The later ones were.
Were they really?
Yeah. But that doesn't have any effect on the transmission.
No, a hydraulic clutch is much easier to work with.
Let's see. Somebody just asked about the no-name nationals.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Ooh, Tall Garage. Hey, this is a good video. It's a good thing I went back. Good thing I went back. Tall Garage. That is an excellent idea for a video. I got a video coming up, how to get a title for any car 25 years or older in any state that's not stolen. So that's a extremely valuable video, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
should
do
get
that
some
one. You get a lot of views on that.
seriously listen to me, right? When you put that video out, spend some extra time on the title and the thumbnail and make sure that there's words in the thumbnail and everything, because that video that's the kind of thing you can get 1 million views on. Easy. Let's see. Wow, this is moving fast now.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Like, it was all flying by, and everybody was digging on the idea that I said put an 833 behind that Buick 455 in the Suburban. But I actually have something in the works that's really low key. I've been keeping it under wraps, but I actually got a switch pitch not too long ago, right? And I'm actually having it rebuilt right now. So the plan is switch pitch behind that Buick 400. I'd like to see what it does with the gear vendors. I really would. I mean, you split all those gears. I mean, think about it. You virtually got a 2-speed torque converter, and then you have 6 gears. Man, there's always got to be a gear that you could pull something in.
It's right, exactly. There's always someplace in that range is going to be the optimum setup.
Exactly.
Granny's Blue Waffle asks a question. What's your opinion on drifting? It's the most pure form of hot rodding nowadays. All right. I have to disagree with you that it's the most pure form of hot rodding, because hot rodding is the most pure form of hot rodding. so I have to disagree with you there. But I have 2 opinions on drifting, right? And here's the con. I'll give you the con first, and then I'll give you the pro. Okay. The con is that I don't really understand it. It's a competition based on form. That doesn't really make sense in the mind of an old school hot rodder. So, like, to me, it's like figure skating. It's like it's the same really thing as figure skating, because you're being judged based on form, right? Deliberately putting the car out of sorts. Okay. So to me, that doesn't really make much sense. It's neat to watch sometimes. I've watched some of it. I have no desire to do it myself. Okay, now that's the con. Okay, that's the con. The pro is that of the people I've met that are into drifting and my little exposure to it, it's it's the least toxic form of automotive competition I've ever seen. These guys are all out there to have fun. They're all out there to help each other. It's a real nice community feeling. And so for that reason alone, I completely and absolutely support the drift, the whole drift scene, the drift community, and all of that. I don't have to understand it. I don't necessarily have to like it, but I absolutely do respect it. So that's my answer. What's yours?
I'm just not a fan at all.
Okay.
Right? Like, I just never understood. I mean, drag racing, I get it. You did a burnout because you're trying to hook the tires, but drifting, I mean, these guys are throwing thousands of dollars at tires every event. And to me, it just makes no sense. It's wasteful. But I don't know, to each his own. I know for at least 100 years, there's been a lot of guys doing drifting, and they're in wing sprints way
different.
before.
That's different. I get it. Dirt cars kick out the ASN. Sprint cars kick out the ASN. Lots of things kick out the ASN. But ultimately, they're still who gets to the finish line first. With drift cars, it doesn't matter who finishes, as long as
they don't care who finishes. But those cars have gotten expensive as well.
Mountains Garage, like burnout contests, not my bag, but it's people having fun with cars, I guess. Exactly. I totally don't get the burnout contest thing. I don't get it. I can't understand it. I don't get it. I'm completely lost on it, right? But it's people out there having fun with their cars. I'm nobody to judge how you're going to have fun with your car. You know what I'm saying? So It's like, if it's working and you're not hurting anybody, and yeah, man, I support it completely. It doesn't mean I have to get it. You know what I mean? But Brian Rose, thank you for the super chat. $6 for a 2-hour live. That's a nickel a minute for great entertainment. So where the hell is the Jeep content you promised me? Oh, bro, don't worry about it. We're going to be doing some Jeep stuff. Just not right now. I have have other things. I got so many things I got to get done. But yeah, there's Jeep stuff coming, man.
John Wilburn says my favorite drifting chase scene from Bullet.
The best part of that whole chase scene is when Steve McQueen axle hops that Mustang.
When he backs it up.
Yeah, he's backing it up, right? He dumps the clutch in reverse, throws it in first, up the hill.
Yeah, I like when I think my favorite part is when they slide that big Charger around the curve and the hubcaps come flying off both sides. And I mean, you really got her leaned over hard if you're knocking the hubcaps off.
It does. Start with not with a start with a heart. Any chance you could do a video on fuel hoses? I guess we could. Yeah, I mean fuel hoses. It's actually maybe not a bad idea. Let me. That's a weird name. Star. Let me think about that. Matt S. They actually have a loud exhaust competition where they rev the piss out of their rides by hitting the rev limiter. Mostly those Carolina squawkers. I've seen videos of that. Have you seen videos of that, man?
Yes, unfortunately, yes. I don't know
what up on the rev limiter, and they're all going like this. It's crazy. It's crazy. Have you seen the sound videos?
Sound videos? No.
Oh God, they have these. They have what they call decibel drag racing.
Oh, I have seen those. Yeah, and like the windows are like flopping around, the dash is shaking to death.
Well, there's these latest videos, right? The ones that I've seen recently. Okay, where they'll put a girl, and she'll usually have long hair.
Yeah.
And they'll put her in one of these things.
And it's like.
Yeah, and then they go full send with the sound system, and her hair is just going like this.
I don't know. I just never got into any of that stuff. I kind of put that in the same category as like mini trucks from the 80s, right?
I like the mini trucks from the 80s. I had a Slam Dash 10.
Did you?
Yeah. Rating Slant 6. I see YouTube vids with guys doing donut tire burning at traffic intersection while guys with cells stand in the middle of an accident and waiting. Listen, bro, it takes all kinds of cookies to fill the bag. You know what I'm saying? What about demo derbies? I don't have the heart for it. I do not have the heart for it. You know, to me, if a car runs and moves under its own power, especially if it's older, you know what I mean? It's like I can't. Let's see. Ford Couriers are impossible to get parts for, I'm sure.
Well, that was over a Japanese truck too, right?
The Courier?
Yeah.
It was who built that? Was that Mazda?
I think it was a Mazda.
Might have, I don't know. But yeah, I remember those things. Gypsy Shot, Tony, these gas prices are killing me. Go get a motorcycle. Let's see. Chris Freemason, what about school bus demolition derbies? I wasn't too impressed by the school bus. Have you seen these? They do school bus figure eight racing.
I have.
the trailer racing.
That's the one I dig.
That's great. That's the figure eight trailer. Okay, so there's a form of demolition derby.
That's the UK thing, right? Isn't that with the caravan racing? Is that what they call it?
Well, it might have started there, but they do it here. In fact, I was just watching videos of that, like, I don't know, like 2 weeks ago. And it was like, that's something I would love to participate in. That just looks like a blast. You know, the demolition derby, everybody's just going like this, you know, and I don't get that. But that's the figure eight trailer racing. And they do it with boats too. They do it with boats.
Oh yeah, boat races.
Yeah. They'll chain a boat to the back of a car and just drag it around.
Yeah, I was watching one just probably 2 days ago. And then what was funny is like the tops were coming off the trailer, so then you just had the trailer, the frame, because guys were hitting were hitting the Caravan, knocking it off.
Paul Shea, I went to a demo derby and it gave me an anxiety attack. They have broke Mike says they have trailer racing in reverse too. I mean, like, why not, right? Why it's just like go all out with it, right?
When it's just maximum carnage that you're seeking,
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which direction you go. I mean, I'm sure the guy's not looking where he's going anyway. Abel D says, "What's your thoughts on jerry cans? I hate the new EPA compliant nozzles. Nothing like a NATO jerry can."
If you're going to store something long term, yeah, that's what I would do. Danny Carpenter, what is the cause of a brake pedal returning up slow? I'm imagining that you have power brakes. I can't. Can you picture a situation
leaking
where
line? It'd be a leaking line because it doesn't have any pressure to push it back up, right?
Well, yeah, but then he would say, you know, and I run out of brake fluid. You know what I mean? At the fourth pump.
Yeah.
I would imagine that you've got a power that your car has power brakes, and that the booster is on its way out.
Yeah.
I had a Ford booster go bad once. It was in a Torino wagon.
Oh yeah.
And I will never forget this. I'll never forget this. As soon as you would start the car, the pedal would violently jam itself to the floor.
Oh, I had something that was odd too, because I'd never troubleshot a bad brake booster before, but I guess it seems to be more common than not anymore. But my white Ford truck, when I first got it, started it up, you put your foot on the brake to put it in gear, and the sucker would die. And I'm like, what in the world? And it literally it would cause a huge major vacuum leak the second you pressed on the brake pedal.
Okay. It was on a Ford, right?
Mm-hmm.
Always Ford power brake boosters for some reason. When there's an odd problem with a power brake booster, it's a Ford.
I don't know. That's the first one I ever had. And it took me forever to troubleshoot. You know how I ended up figuring it all out was I thought it was something to do with the EFI, and I plugged off all the vacuum lines on the whole motor, right? And then when I went in there, it's like, oh, okay, well, it seems to be running fine. You know, you get a vacuum gauge on, 22, 23 inches of vacuum, that's good. And then hook everything back up one at a time.
Right. You got the brake booster and
dead.
Yeah, every oddball brake problem I've had, a power booster problem I've had was a Ford. And how is it that Ford has managed, right? So you go back to the 1950s, all the way through the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, right, 2000s. And they've had at least there's probably 10 different power steering systems in that lineup. How is it that every single one of them makes an odd noise?
Well, my old man, he was like, I hate Fords. I hate them because when you go in and you go buy a part for like a 65 Mustang, you better make sure it's not a 65 and a half, right? Because it'll have a completely different bolt assembly or pattern he hated them.
Bill McKyska, thank you, sir. Rockford Speedway in Illinois. That's what the videos I was watching were from Rockford. Does the trailer racing a couple of times a year. Great track too for watching stock car racing and a full program every Saturday night in the season. Well, there you go. If you're anywhere near Rockford Speedway, every Saturday night, go support your local racetrack.
Or at least twice a year, go out there and take your camper. Yeah. Take your kids RVing.
Borrow your neighbors. Say, hey man, can I borrow your pop-up for a couple of hours? You know? Go for it, right? What's the worst he's going to do? Bring it back, and it's just a hitch. You know? I had an accident.
And that little dinky spare tire that's on the back.
The thing happened. I'm sorry.
The one, the neatest thing I've seen is like, have you ever heard of Targa racing?
What is it?
Targa racing.
Never heard of it.
Okay, well, I saw it in Australia, New Zealand. I think that's what they call it, Targa racing. But it's like it's an on-road rally.
Okay.
Right, and you got checkpoints. You got to meet the checkpoints at certain times. It's just like a regular rally, but and I mean, beating on them hard, because it's a regular road.
They have that all through Europe. I don't think they do that here, but like that stuff's popular over.
Oh well, I'd love to do something like that. I think it'd be kind of cool. Are we done?
Did it die? There it
No.
goes. Leroy Fitch, I had a brake pedal come up slow because the car was all full of rust and the pedal assembly itself was partially frozen. Well, wouldn't you notice that when you...
Oh, Targa started in Spain, huh? Man, what the heck? This is flying by so
Yeah,
fast I
well,
can't even read it.
These guys know this stuff.
AHRA Rally Series. I'd really like to do some rallies. I think they're fun.
How about tractor pulls? Just absolute violence. Vegas 60. Okay, I went to a tractor pull once. So now this was back in like, I want to say like it was like in like 1988, 1989, something in that range, maybe 1990. And at that time, I was deep in the nitro thing. It was my life. Okay. And I had always wanted to see, as I was buying a lot of parts from tractor pull guys and selling a lot of parts from tractor pull guys. So finally, I had the opportunity to go to a tractor pull. And I was saying to myself, these things with like 6 friggin' engines have got to be just over the top. Okay. So I had all this great anticipation that I was going to be blown away. Right. And I was absolutely flat out disappointed. I saw the first 2 or 3 of these things run and I was like, get out of here.
What?
How is it that one of our 8-cylinder engines is like so much completely more impressive than 6 of these freaking things?
Well, that's exactly how I was. I was thinking, because I grew up drag strip.
Right.
You got one engine, alcohol motor, and the thing runs like a bat out of hell, right?
Right.
And I'm thinking 6 of them on a tractor? Oh my God, this guy's going to freaking pull the earth down, right? Hook it up. He gets like 3/4 of the way that a diesel truck did. And you're like, what a letdown that is. And I don't know if it's how they got to balance the weight, apply the power, is slipping the clutches. I don't have a clue.
To me, it was because they were on alcohol.
It needs nitro.
Yeah, you take 6 engines and put them on alcohol, and it's not nearly as impressive as 1 engine on nitro. Or a poorly running engine, 6 cylinders on nitro, is more impressive than 6 engines on alcohol.
Yeah, the ones that I think the only other thing I really got into besides drag racing stuff was I really liked monster trucks in the 80s and the early 90s. And I guess John Wilburn is a huge fan of that stuff too.
Hook, line, and fishing. Tony, Isle of Man bike racing is crazy. If I was a younger man, I would. I don't know. If I was a younger man, I would consider getting involved in something like that because it's really over the top. I like things that are like completely over the top.
Well, I like the videos because there's only one place to shoot them, and it's like literally up against a wall. And so the bike goes by so fast, right? It's like literally in one frame, and you're shooting 1,400 frames per second. So
the Isle of Man stuff is just so utterly insane and over the top. I dig it.
I'm telling you, when I was overseas, I really wanted to do the things that were unique to the area that I was at. And so when I lived in Hawaii, there really wasn't a lot of car stuff there. Matter of fact, when I got there, 6 months after I got there, they shut down the drag strip, right? And it was like, I thought my life was over, right? Like, oh God, I don't even know what to do now. But then when I went to Australia, they had the drag strip open. They did drag racing. I was there. But they also had land speed record racing, right? That a lot of people weren't aware of. But there's a salt lake down there in the southern part of Australia that they go run these things. And I'm like, I was trying to set it all up for a trip to go there, check it out. My wife was 8-9 months pregnant, perfect time to leave, right? And come to find out, they don't have any place to stay within like 25 miles of the place. So it was, here I am. And in Australia, like everything there that's not an inanimate object is there to murder you, right? And like, so here I was going to have to sleep in a tent in a sleeping bag out on this salt flat. And there's snakes, scorpions, like, I think I'll just tough it out here in Sydney.
Wheelie King 71 is saying Isle of Man requires men with the biggest balls on the planet, period. The thing about that, like I said, when I say if I was a younger man, I would want to try something like that. I don't want to mistake that with I would think I could compete with those guys because in my best day or in my wildest dreams, I could never compete with those guys. They're finely tuned athletes with giant, huge huge balls, right? And I know that I could never compete with them. Because you have to be wired a certain way, and you have to have a certain
You
skill
don't let
set and
off.
everything.
You don't let off.
But I would love to at least participate, at least go out there. Yeah, all right, I'll finish way at the back of the pack, but at least I could say I did it and experienced it. You know what I'm
And
saying?
I've said it on here before. I always wanted to do something that's like, you're never going to get the fastest car on the salt flat. You're never going to do it. It's already happened, and it would take so much money to get to that point that it would be unbeneficial for you, right? But I can go out there and run 200 miles an hour in a home built car, right? And then you just throw the keys to your buddy and like, okay, you go get a jacket too, right? I mean, you can easily do those kind of things. And the thing I always wanted to do was finish the Baja 1000. Not like win it. I can't win it. I don't have enough money.
Right, but you
right?
just want to go out
I
there
want
and
to
be
finish
part
it.
of it.
Yeah,
Right,
there's
exactly.
there's literally 50% of attrition that happens to those cars. If I could be the upper 49% and cross the finish line, that's a hell of an accomplishment on a home built car, right?
Really keep saying, "Oh, I get that." The thing about Isle of Man versus something like Nitro, they have a lot of time to think about what they're doing. Yeah. They have like, no fooling, man. They got, Nitro. It's like, I've done this. It's just like, okay, just hope for the best, right? Hit it and hang on, right? But for those guys, I mean, really, you're out there for hours.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just like,
And you make one dumb decision.
oh, please. They're
just
crazy.
one.
They're just crazy. Pikes Peak is pretty neat. Stoic Steel, are they having a TT this year because they canceled it in 2020?
What's TT?
The
Isle of Man?
Yeah. Gigawatt 445. Tony, you should come to the Chrysler Nationals in Carlisle. It's the biggest mofo. I have been there. I've been there in the past.
You were there last year, weren't you?
For about 10 minutes. Yeah.
La Carrera Pan America is the old guy's car version of the Isle of Man.
There's-
Are they wide open? I know if they are, there's a lot of sketchy ass roads on that.
I'm in the wrong part of the country for a lot of stuff that I'm into, right? What I would like to try. Like for instance, they do desert racing, and there's a group of guys, I forgot what they call themselves now, but there's a group of guys that use Sportsters, Iron Hit Sportsters, and they turn them into desert sleds and they go race the damn things.
Really?
And it's like I would give my nuts to do something like that, but it's like I can't justify a 2,000 mile,
right?
a 4,000 mile round.
I don't
trip.
think your vertebrae could justify doing it.
Oh, I can still do it, bro. I'm old, but I'm still pretty.
Well,
solid.
I mean, like, man, I'm telling you, that's hell on your back right there. Formula One off road in Iceland is crazy, insane. I always liked the World Rally Championship. You remember when Speed Channel was an actual channel before we got all communitized, and they had World Rally Championship races on there. And man, that shit was fun to watch. And it's like they'd be in Argentina, and there'd be some Argentinians with a freaking ox trying to cross the street, and there'd come like a Subaru just flying over the top of the ox, right? It was the greatest thing I ever seen. And being in the Navy, we had an opportunity to, like, you could pull into ports, right? But I never met up to these the World Rally Championship events when I was there, right? That's what sucked. I only had one opportunity. We were supposed to pull into Argentina, and as we're getting ready to pull in, they canceled the port visit because something happened. And it was like I don't know, like an attempted coup or something. And so okay, we're not pulling in. We don't want to be here when it's civil unrest, right? Okay, sounds fair. Well, they're my World Rally Championship race.
Well, that was like what happened with like the Paris to Dakar rally, which is something that I would have loved to get involved.
Yeah, that'd be cool too. Yeah.
But they were like they were like racing through these war zones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they'd have to stop the war so that they could get the race through and then go back to the war.
They stopped racing in Africa because of that.
Yeah.
And they moved to South America, right?
Yeah, and then I think they had wars there too. Wherever they went, there was a friggin' war. Chrono 16. I'm buying my first classic car. I need some advice. What advice do you need? We have 357 people on here that are willing to more than willing to share their experience and knowledge.
Yeah, there's about a 4 billion avenues that you could go with. I mean, like, pick a topic.
Zero saying, what is the name of the rally shown in Love the Beast? Oh man, I don't know. Never even heard of
Oh, I know what that's the Targa Tasmania. Targa Tasmania.
that. Okay.
Yeah. If you go, I have that movie if you want to watch it. That's Eric Bana, who's an actor in Australia.
Okay.
His very first car was a Falcon XB, the same one as that they used in Mad Max.
Yeah.
Right. And he built some kind of Cleveland motor to go run that thing and drove it off. That's Targa Tasmania.
Let's see. Anyone else into Toads racing? We were just talking about that 15 minutes ago.
Into what?
Targa, the Toads racing. What you were talking about?
Targa?
Yeah, like, I think they pronounce it Toads. Unless it's two different things. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know which one you're looking at.
Word O. Anybody else into Toads racing? Drifting is kind of an evolution of it. Oh, okay. That's something completely different. Okay.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too old. I don't know what this weird stuff is.
So if people are always going to come up with new ways to,
Yeah.
Okay, word O, not Targa. Tooj, it's downhill mountain racing.
Oh my God. You
Okay,
mean like the opposite of Pikes Peak, using gravity as a benefit?
That could be hairy.
I could see that being rough.
Yeah, that could be really hairy. Nate Frenchman, can you make a video of making subframe connectors and coilover conversion? Nope. Nope, I cannot. I don't do that stuff. I work with leaf springs. I work with stock suspensions. Not that I have anything against any of that. 3-link, 4-link, coil, go for it. But I don't work with that. I work with stock suspensions.
Oh, Toge is a Japanese style thing using drifting to pass in mountain passes. Yeah, I'm just never been into that stuff. Drifting is not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my cup of tea either. But I've met many drift people. Right, it's a big thing around here, and all of them that I met were very enthusiastic. They're not. See, the only way I could describe it is like it's not. See, you put a bunch of like car guys, drag racers together, unless they're buddies, it's a really toxic environment. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's a lot of like dirty looks and a lot of like underhanded this and needling, right? And then what of the people I've met that are into the drifting, they're not like that at all, man. They're just okay. All right, yeah, okay. Perfect example, right? You take like motorcycles. You take like the Harley, like the bagger guys, okay? And they're all out there posturing and posing and stuff like that, and it's like it's freaking toxic, okay? And then on the flip side, I met this group of guys, ran into them a couple of times, that run around town on these Honda Groms. And they are just absolutely like the atmosphere around these guys is fantastic. They're just like, hey man, come on, let's go have some fun, right? The way it's supposed to be. And that's kind of how I see the drift guys. You know what I mean? They're like, they just want to have fun. They're just going out there to have fun. They help each other. They don't really care, about having the better this or the faster that or anything like that. They just want to go have fun. So that's how I see it. Need more videos of the 62 Caddy. I agree. And as John does stuff to it, we will definitely.
I was wondering how anemic is that thing with the Chevrolet small block? Is it bad? Does it feel underpowered?
No, not at all.
Really?
Not at all. Car felt really nice, actually.
Good deal. I was wondering because it was a big car. What it came with a big Cadillac motor, right?
Yeah, but you know something? It's not heavy like the later ones. It's an X-frame Chevy with a bunch of trim.
Oh, so it's like an Impala.
More or less.
I think it has a little bit longer wheelbase, right? But you're adding just a couple 100 pounds. It's not a big deal.
If that.
And then the Chevy would have came with a 283.
It's not like the fully loaded caddies, you know what I mean? Or it's not like a freaking limo, you know what I mean? And it's not like the later caddies where they just started.
It's got a bubble top style roof.
Yeah.
But yet it's a pillarless 4-door, right?
Yeah. My impression of the car overall is that it's an extremely high trim Impala.
Chrono 16 says that does the value of a classic car drop if the interior of the car has been changed? It depends
Changed
who you're
to
selling
what?
it to. It depends really who you're selling it to.
Right.
If you're selling it to one of those people that's like looking for the China marks on the rear end housing, yeah, it's going to really impact the sale on it, right? But if you're looking at just having, see, I'll tell you why interiors get changed and people don't really recognize it as such, right? It always comes down to availability of parts and cost, right? So they might repop all of the interior trim pieces and all that stuff, but it might cost some ungodly amount of money, and the person that's doing it doesn't have that kind of cash. So they just put whatever they can in there that looks reasonably decent, and that's where you end up getting the interior swap. Because let's face it, they make fenders for like just about anything. They don't make door panels for just about anything, right?
Zoogies22 is saying, I pay more for the original interior. And I agree completely. To me, there's only two types of interiors, right? There's a completely stock interior, right? Just don't touch anything. Maybe change the shifter if you have to, add gauges if you have to, right? So to me, there's only two ways to do an interior. It's either completely stock or gutted. I don't like anything that's in between.
You mean gutted like race car gutted, right?
Gutted, just gut it. Just, you don't need it. It ain't making the car go faster. Get it the hell out of there. So that's it. To me, it's like completely stock interior or no interior at all. That whole middle ground, I don't like it. I don't get it. Let's see. Dragging doors, Chris. Holly dual quad carb sinking in relation to drilled holes in throttle plates. Stay tuned because over the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we're going to dive really hard into the 3D3 for a slag hammer, and that's got a dual quad. It's got a tunnel ram with a pair of Hollies on it. So we're going to go deep into that, and I'm going to work with Andy at Unity Motorsports Garage to get the best possible tune on those carburetors. So there's going to be a lot of dual quad Holly content coming.
Okay, Steve Cotter says, will a super stock leaf springs make my 69 Barracuda ride poorly versus the stock springs? It's a fastback with a 360. Doesn't those things have like they're more flexible, but there's more leaves?
There's more leaves, and here's the thing. And this is a lot of people don't. Okay, the super stock spring is arched so that the right wheel or the right side of the car is going to sit 1.5 inches, 2 inches higher than the left side of the car. So keep that in mind when you're you're contemplating it. It'll roughen up the ride a little bit. It's a stiffer ride, but it's not really objectionable. I think you'd be fine, driving it, as long as you understand that when they're set up properly, the jacking weight, to the rear, to the right rear, and they do that by arching the right rear spring more than the left spring. Right, and the way you counteract that now is you take the left torsion bar and you increase the load on the left torsion bar to push some weight over to that, and that kind of evens the car out a little bit. But that's what you call cross-weighting the car. And this way, when it's under load, both tires get an even grip.
It's for drag racing purposes.
Drag racing purposes only.
There's Harry Australia from Adelaide.
It is Harry Australia.
Yeah, he probably knows that land speed record lake down there.
I bet you they named the place after him.
Lake and he Harry Australia.
He has a ute and a really big knife.
Well, I tell you what, the utes, and they were making like that Pontiac G8 that they brought to the States. That's based off the Holden Commodore, right? Yeah. But they were making wagon versions of that in Australia. I'm like, why didn't they bring that here? They also had ute and wagon versions of it.
Let's see. Zero saying Superstock aftermarket will lift the car up a lot. Well, the right side. Plus shackle kit. I used to sell them at Classic Industries. Tony, can you run two of the same side with the Superstock springs to even the stance out? You're defeating the purpose of having the Superstock springs.
Yeah, now you just have regular springs.
Right, just put stock springs in it.
You have cargo coils or cargo springs.
And honestly, the Superstock springs in an A body aren't nearly as beneficial as the Superstock springs in a B body, because the Superstock spring in a B body is a shorter version. so there's less spring than you have on an A body. You know, they use an extended front hanger, so they're good on an A body, but they really work well on a B body.
Mike Batista, wouldn't arching the right spring make the car sit crooked? Yeah, it'll sit high on one side.
Right. Let's see. Harry Australia, Holden Monero, Pontiac two-door made here in Adelaide.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they also made the Pontiac G8, which was a four-door Chevrolet SS. I was down there when they released that the police car that came here. You remember the police car that was here for a little while? The Caprice, the Australian Caprice, for a few years. I was down there in Australia when they had created that thing. And I took a bunch of pictures of it.
The Screaming Seaman, you can make your own dowels and harden them by building a furnace with a charcoal and a fan. You keep heating them up with a stick in the water, right? No. Well, if you want to, I've already done it. It's already taken care of. But if I wanted to go through all of that, I would just cut a couple of drill bits, pre-hardened, ready to go. Let's see.
God, all right, Screaming Seaman, enough of that.
Nate B, true or false? My 14-year-old son should buy a Slant 6 Valiant or a Dart. True. Let's see. Cadillac PPV, Caprice PPV.
That's that police car.
Oh, okay.
SVO T-Birds were awesome. Oh, turbo coupes. Yeah, they run pretty good. There's a couple of guys that were on the forum with me, the T-Bird Cougar forum. Man, they got them running down in the nines, putting a lot of boost to that Turbo 4. But I guess apparently that 2.3 loves it and gobbles it all up. So.
Slants are for full-grown men. Well, his son will eventually become a full-grown man, no? Might as well go into it with the advantage of having a cool car. Adam Wing, my friend and I have been bringing old batteries back. Thanks for that video. You didn't die? I thought everybody who tried that would die, because if you read the comments, that's what it says. Aaron Hinckley, I made the drill bit video a comment on your video. Yes, I don't want to. I only have like a couple of good drill bits in that size, and I don't want to cut them up. I used bolt. I had bolts. I had one bolt that had a long enough shank that I was able to cut it in half, and that's it. It's done.
Gabriel DeMarco, Dallas, no more Mr. Rod reveals. Yes, there will be more videos coming soon. I just have been kind of swamped with the AHRA stuff. I did those during the off season, so it was real easy for me to do them. Just now, everything's starting to get ramped up, and I got a month behind because I got COVID in December, or I got the vid. I guess I shouldn't say that on the video, but I got the vid in December, so. That slowed me down, and now I'm a month behind on everything, so I've been thrashing to catch up. There'll be more videos coming, I promise. I was going to shoot one today, matter of fact, but I got sidetracked.
Doug Norton, Yamaha made the engine for the first generation SHO Taurus, only the top end. They did the cylinder heads, yeah.
And the intake runners. It actually had 2 sets of intake runners. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm. I drove the actual prototype.
Oh, really?
Of that, yeah.
I always wanted to make a Taurus wagon with that SHO setup, right? Like go out and just murder people. They would have no clue what hit them. But I guess finding a Taurus wagon these days is probably few and far between.
Twisted Frame Films. Will the 7 1/4 in our 318 hold up for the no-name nationals, or should I be searching harder for an 8x8 3/4? Bro, it depends a lot on.
Don't put slicks on it.
Yeah, don't put slicks on it. Go for a little tire spin. And I'll tell you what, the weak link is the spider gears on those things. If you weld the spider gears, right, you're a Lincoln Locker, well, despite gears, you're doubling the strength of that rear, and the chances are it will lift. But you know,
Nate Fretchman says, when are the No Name Nationals? September 30th and October 1st, Jeffers Motorsports Park. Here's the flyer, right? Oh, so there you go. September 30th and October 1st, Jeffers Motorsports Park, Sykeston, Missouri. Be there or be square. We'll leave the light on for you.
Joe K, the egg body style Taurus SHO got the V8. Have you noticed those cars have become completely extinct? They were everywhere.
But they were junk.
Oh, God.
They were breaking the cams off at the snout.
I don't mean the SHOs. I'm talking about just those Tauruses.
Oh, the Jelly Bean Taurus?
The Jelly Bean Taurus was everywhere. There were like millions and millions of those things everywhere, and they are extinct. Not a single one to be found on the road. Even to this day now, I keep my eyes up before them if I can pull apart just to see one. Just because
they're not there.
It's almost like they got sucked up by aliens.
Well, and right? they were popular as hell.
They were everywhere, like in New York. Okay, my business was based on Ford freaking Tauruses. There were so many of them, and there were so many things that would go wrong with them every day. Right? I made a fortune off of those cars. I bought a house, off Ford Tauruses. Right? You think I'm joking, right? But they just extinct, gone. Not a single one to be found anywhere.
Well, I remember that in 1996, my dad came out to California when I was stationed out there, and he was like, "Hey, if I come out and hang out with you, you think I could pay for my trip if we buy some classic car out there and I'll bring it home to Illinois, which is like Rust Central, right? And sell it." And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I used to get what they call the Auto Trader. Southern California had an Auto Trader, and it was like every Wednesday I was waiting there at the rack for the guy to put them up, right? And this was before all the computers and
we had the 1/8
like
press. The Jersey 1/8 press was our equivalent.
Really?
Yeah.
So I'm digging through this magazine, and I find 72 Cutlass S, right? S model. So it was a mid-grade car. You could have optioned it with almost anything from Oldsmobile. And it was like $1,800, something like that. Well, we went and looked at it, and it was a teacher. And the guy had bought the car brand new in 72, was driving it every day. And every year when they were off for school in the summertime, he would do things like have the car repainted, bumpers re-chromed, engine pulled out, rebuilt, or freshened up, dropped back in. And I mean, he spent a lot of money maintaining it, like proper maintenance, right? Or above and beyond. And we're looking at it, and this thing looks brand new. And he's like, "Yeah, I just got a new car." And he points at one of those Jelly Bean Tauruses, right? And my dad's like, "Oh, shit, we better snap this thing up quick before that Taurus breaks." And it was brand new.
Paul Shea, transmission would always go out on the Taurus. Axles would fall out often. I don't remember axles falling out often, but that transmission was the worst shifting. I don't even know what the designation on it was. An AOX.
I have no clue. I know
whatever
90s
it was,
Fords automatic were garbage.
Yeah, the transmissions, it was the worst shifting. You knew it was only a Ford Taurus. You knew you were driving a Ford Taurus because it would go for that first to second. But it was terrible.
It's like you installed a wet banana for a freaking transmission.
Exactly. The AXOD, yeah, that was it. What a hunk of shit that was.
Well, the sad part was the E4OD, which was like the heavy duty truck transmission, was just as shitty. Like I had one in Power Stroke diesel, and it was like it shifted okay. And then when I got this white Ford truck I got now, it originally had an automatic in it, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with this transmission? It just won't shift. It's like it doesn't know what it's doing, right? And then I found out it's the same damn training. How is it possible?
I remember those things. I think literally you'd pull it, you'd drive away from the dealership, and if you check the transmission fluid, it was already burned. It's like
you got to buy Ford training fluid, and it comes pre-burnt in the bottle.
Pre-burned. And it always had that thing, the training fluid they used, the Ford training fluid back in the day, if you remember this, right? when you would pull out the dipstick, there'd be bubbles on it.
Right.
It would be like you know what I'm talking
Right.
about?
And I like how it always had like a brown color.
Yeah, yeah. It
Always
was
had
like
a
free
brown.
burned, right? It had a brown color and it had bubbles on it.
Let's see. E4OD needs a way more cooler for a 7.3 that pulls. Yeah, like a cooler shaped like a manual transmission. Because those E4ODs are garbage. Oh man, I put a shift kit in the damn thing and it still was crap.
ATX 81 to 94. Okay. I don't even, like I said, I don't remember what the designation was on it. All I know, it was just a load. It was a load. Taurus radiator. Oh God, not the first generation. The first generation was easy. It was the second generation Tauruses. Did you ever change the radiator?
No.
Oh Jesus! It was like wide. They changed the nose piece, and so the radiator was under the nose piece. And to change one of those things, remember now, this is back in the day. This is like in the 90s. Okay, so you're still working on cars from the 70s and the 80s where things were like common sense. You know, oh, you got to change the radiator. Boop, boop, done. Okay. No, and I don't know second generation Tauruses. The radiator had to come out from the bottom, and it was a nightmare, an absolute freaking nightmare. That was back in the day, right? Where a customer would bring you a car, right? To change, and they say, "Hey, how much to change the radiator on this?" And you tell them,
$50. I'll be done in an afternoon.
Right, yeah, $50 plus the radiator is what you tell them, right? And then somebody bring you one of those Tauruses.
Okay? Here's the old switcheroo. Watch this. This guy doesn't know about these yet. Well, I did. It was recently. I told you about the. Oh man. Okay, you remember when you went to the pick apart and they had all those Fords in there with the FE motors?
Yeah.
Okay, so about that time, we were getting parts for our Lemons car, and I went in there and I'm getting. I don't remember what I was getting. I was getting like a Quadrajet carburetor or something. I saw it was in there. When we went in there, I'm gonna grab this carburetor, and all I took was like basic standard SAE tools to take this carburetor off, right? And my buddy's like, "Hey, let's just tromp through and see what we can find." And okay. So I'm running around through the yard, and we get out to the Ford section in the back, and lo and behold, there's a Lincoln Mark 8.
Okay.
All right. The Mark 8 was a freaking turd. It was like the Cougar and the T-Bird of that same era, right? But it had the modular dual red cam motor. But the one thing, the saving grace of the Lincoln Mark 8 was they had this bitchin' little radiator in them that had a 2-speed fan.
I vaguely know what you're talking about. I don't think I ever worked on those cars.
Oh, probably not. They were pretty reliable. But I'm like, oh man, let's grab that radiator and fan assembly for our Lemons car before somebody else does, because that was the go-to thing to put in your Mustang 5-liter.
Okay.
Right? So I go over there and I got my standard fucking wrench and standard screwdriver and everything, nothing fits, right? Like, man, this thing's 8mm bolts, and I'm like hammering sockets on there, right, to get these things loose. And as soon as I get it loose, my buddy that's with me, he's like, "Oh, here, I just got to pull this one radiator hose off," and breaks off the plastic nipple, right? And I'm like, God, but it was a pain in the ass like that.
Oh, Olive. Forget about the power steering lines. Oh, God, rattle lift too. Anyone with bigger hands or less patience just couldn't have done that. I forgot about that. The power steering hoses on those freaking Tauruses, the lines. Oh, my God. Did you ever do one of those?
No. I never messed with a Taurus. The early ones were pretty freaking reliable.
Early and late, they all had the power steering pump at the right front corner of the car. Okay. And it had to go, or the metal lines had to go. The metal lines ran along the motor under the exhaust manifold, then went over the transmission, and then
for the cooler.
So the transmission cooler lines, which would go bad, right? They had the rubber into them, right? So it was like one piece line, metal and rubber.
Right.
The box was as big as this table. The box was as big as this freaking table, and to change it, it was like. You had to take the car apart.
You can't just fish them and twist them and then nothing like that.
No. Well, you find your shortcuts. You find your shortcuts over time. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and that one's like pull the motor, put the stuff in, put the motor back in.
Job. Vero's garage on the dog bone will go out and eat that power steering line. Yep. Oh, you guys know these cars well. Weird. Oh, Tony, you ever see the half of a Ford 460 that Merc Cruiser did? I have not seen that. It's a Ford 460 headed 4.7 liter four banger. Seen a few people building for street cars and they're fast. That's an interesting engine.
3.7 liter.
But I've never seen one.
That's actually kind of cool.
That's
That's almost 4 liters. It's a 4-cylinder. That's pretty big.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, on this motor, the pump itself was on top of the motor. Well, okay, on different engines, they had them on the top and on the bottom, but either way, they were still at that corner. Like the furthest distance from where they had to go is where the pump was.
Danny Boyd says he could break the motor mounts in a tempo in 2 weeks of normal driving.
Mad Mouse seatbelts in the Tempo Topaz. You remember that? You get in the car.
Oh, the probe was like that too. The probes. Remember the probe? It was the wannabe Mustang, but it wasn't quite there yet. It was literally like a hot rod escort.
Wheelie King saying there's a good reason I daily a 1970 Dodge truck. Oh, and I totally get that, man. Okay, Silver Bell, have either of you ever heard of spark plug mass being a tuning factor? By this, I mean a heavier plug will attract and retain more heat for longer, increasing cylinder head temp. Have you? Because I haven't.
I haven't heard of that, but I can see that working.
I can see it working too, but
you know how like hotter plugs and colder plugs affect. I mean, and literally all you're doing is putting more ceramic or less ceramic in the cylinder, right?
Yeah. Plug mass. So Silver, I'm going to look into that. That's a fascinating. I can't imagine there's really anything major to it. But I'm curious about it.
I wonder if it'd be enough to quench some detonation just by going to a heavier mass as acting like a heat sink, right?
I don't know. But
I don't know where are you going to get a heavier plug? Is it just the metal that it's made of?
Ask him. I don't know. Mac Miles, when are you going to do a video on your Roadrunner? I have 2 Roadrunners, and both of them at some point in the future will find their way into the channel. But right now, neither of them need anything. So that's the thing. It's like all I could like the 68. All I could do is just take it out and drive it around. Like, oh, look at my car. I'll show off my car. I'm just not into that. If I had something to actually do with the car, then it would be out. Smokey Joseph Giannini. Smokey used to make his own plugs. I got to see that once while I was How did he have like a press or something that he would? I mean, how do you? I said I don't know. How do you go about making your own spark plugs? John Wilburn, the 68 needs to race my 69. Yes, absolutely, John. When you've got your 68, when you get your 69 going, I will drag my 69 out, blow the cobwebs off of it, and we will go for it. Absolutely. Dizzy Izzy says thinks he means hotter plug. No, he was talking about mass. He was talking about a plug mass.
Yeah, heavier plug.
Yeah. Screaming semen. For the longest time, I thought that Merc Run ATF smelled like burned hair straight out of the bottle. Yeah.
Stinks.
And it would bubble. That's the thing I remember about the Fords from that era, right? You check the tranny fluid on anything else, okay? And it looked like freaking tranny fluid on the stick, okay? But when you would pull out the stick on like a hot Ford, right? Something that had been running, it's full temperature, and you'd pull the stick out, there would be bubbles in the tranny fluid that would like just run down the stick. It was weird. I mean, it's the only thing I've ever seen that on.
Jacob Marshall says he drives a 97 Lincoln Mark 8 LSC Grandpa Cobra couch. And I imagine they were pretty reliable. That's like the T-Bird and the Cougar was the same way. It was virtually the same car. That's how all the LSCs were luxury sports coupe, right? If you look at the 7s, they're the same as a T-Bird and Cougar.
DC Gunter, putting the pistons back on my buddy's Buick 350 tomorrow. So can I swap sides and rotate them? Yes.
Tony's been wanting me to do that. Just because we looked at the pistons and there was like 80 thousandths offset.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
Right. But those things are bad about piston slap, even when you got them right. So I don't know what that's going to be like.
I would just do it. Don't worry about it.
Well, they got a tall skirt. There's a lot of surface area to keep them from slopping.
Yeah. Almost looks like water drops. Yes. Henry Fickle, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, so I didn't imagine this. This wasn't something that I dreamed up in my head. It looked like water drops. Exactly right.
Yeah, Zero. That's the one with the spare tire lump.
Zugi, would swapping the pistons offset on an LS work? I don't know what this piston offset would be on an LS. Anything that has piston offset, yes, I would do it. In my opinion, okay, I would do it. Whether, other people argue, oh, it doesn't make a difference. Oh, it's bad. You'll blow your motor up. Your children will die, right? World War III will break out.
Maybe not.
So, you know what I mean? Everybody's got their own opinions on what happens when you swap pistons. Me, I would just go ahead and do it. Okay. Racing Sensix. Oh, good night, brother, man. Thanks for hanging out with us. Let's see. Mike Batista, World War III already broke out. Actually, I believe this is World War IV. I think we did World War III already. It was an economic thing. I think this is World War IV we're in. When I say wait, economic, no, it was a trade thing. We lost the trade battle. This is actually World War IV. Let's see.
Thrash Metal and Fun Riff says, what metal is playing in your tape decks? I still got a copy of Megadeth Countdown to Extinction in there.
Let's see. Christian 72, is the Holley red pump good enough for a 650 CFM carburetor?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. The only difference between the blue pump and the red pump is that the red pump is internally regulated and the blue pump is externally regulated. So the red pump is internally regulated to like 6.5 PSI, I believe it is 6 PSI,
Yeah,
whatever it happens
that's
to be.
what it is.
And the blue pump is regulated externally. So, but other than that, there's no difference. They're the same. I've taken them apart. The blue pump and the red pump use exactly the same motor. They use exactly the same vanes in the pump itself. No difference. So whatever you could do with a blue pump, you could do with a red pump, as long as you don't need more than 6.5 PSI.
Hey, so you know what? You told me a long time ago that you were a punk from way back in the day.
Still am.
Were you a fan of the Stooges?
Not a fan, but they were acceptable.
Acceptable.
Yeah.
So, like, what's your type of thing? I know that New York City, probably Ramones.
The Ramones were like a local band. Like,
right, that's what I'm saying.
Were like, it was weird when you hear them on the radio. It's like, oh shit, that's the Ramones. You know what I mean? They're on the radio.
But what was the other stuff? I'm sure there was quite a bit of other stuff.
A little bit of everything, man. It just the scene there. It wasn't so much that you were into a certain type of band. It was just a certain head, a certain environment. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So it's hard to. I was never a fan of like a big fan of any particular band. It was just like the mood of where you were at the time. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, well, that makes
the kind
sense.
of energy that came from the collection of bands that were playing.
Okay.
Terry Littlejohn, I have built 4 race slant 6 engine, all have pistons reversed. There you go. See, Terry Littlejohn is with me. Terry, we're gonna be running Plan Z in about 2 weeks when Buffalo Valley over here opens. I'm dying to see how this thing runs. We'll get into that. Chris Freemassoner, only regret in my life so far was not seeing the Ramones when I had the chance. You didn't really see them as much as you heard them. They were the loudest band, like period, the end. It's like they were just this a wall of speakers and just blasting noise. I don't think you would recognize them, like, as I saw them live many times back in the day, and I don't think that you would recognize their live performance from the recorded stuff, because the live performance was just like, right? It was shock noise, is what it was. And then, when they recorded stuff, it actually sounded like music. Oh, the Dead Kennedys were great. Zoogie, I wish I could have seen Hendrix live front row. Yeah, that would have been a great show. Eugenio Brianti, I saw the Ramones with Agent Orange and West Covina. Right? Am I right about that? Just like
they had their pistons reversed in their band.
Olive, you met Jello Biafra when he was doing his spoken word stuff for the first time. That's cool shit. Twisted Sister was a local band on the radio too. Okay, Dee Snider's dad was one of my customers. Like, it was a car customer.
Hey, my boy's gonna bring my car in. Where's your boy? And he's like 6'4" and looks like a pissed off chick.
Well, no, I mean, like Dee Snider's father, and I can't remember his name now, but Dee Snider's father was my car customer before there was anything like Dee Snider was probably just still in school. He was playing garage bands. It was before they became famous. And then while they became famous, and then he would brag on his son all the time. He was a really nice guy.
Mr. Snyder.
Mr. Snyder is just really nice guy. Zip Ties is in the house. What's happening, brother, man? How is life up there in Kanadistan? Let's see. Rammstein, yeah, that was a great band too. I never saw them, but I used to, at my coffee house, I always had Rammstein playing. Leonard Skinner, man, I just can't. I freaking can't.
You've already told me you don't like Southern fried rock.
I despise, I loathe Southern rock.
Oh man, I love it.
I can't handle it.
I can't get enough of it.
It sucks and it's cold. You need to be here, man, in Tennessee. Like, we're the last of the land of the free right here, bro. You got all of these YouTubers have come down here, right? You got Whistling Diesels on the other side of the city over here. You got Vice Grip is down the road over in Lewis. You gotta just get out of there. Get out of there. Come here. You can crash my shop until you get set up. Oh yeah, the Marshall Tucker band, almonds. No, man, I can't handle any of that stuff. That's like, oh please. I'd rather listen to Scotty. Oh yeah, Scotty Kilmer is up in Clarksville.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Scotty Kilmer moved here?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Frank Computer, best band of all time, Led Zeppelin. And I saw Zeppelin like 2, maybe 3 times. I was on acid. I don't remember. This was a crazy period of time. New York City in the 70s. But I saw Zeppelin a couple of times. I was never a fan. Right? I was never a fan, but the girls loved Zeppelin. So I would go to, Zeppelin things. I saw, who else I saw? I saw Queen a couple of times. I saw Kiss once. I saw maybe twice. I don't know. I was like, it was like a crazy time. But in New York in the 70s, everybody came through. And then we had a place on Staten Island called the Paramount Theater. So any of the touring bands that were going to play, like the New York City circuit, CBGBs and all of those Maxes and all those places, they would stop at the Paramount first to kind of warm up and get their shit together, and then they'd run through Brooklyn and Manhattan. So we got to at the Paramount, everybody was there. I mean, you name it. If you can name the act, they played at the Paramount, and it was like a 50-cent show, and you just go in and just get bombed and hang out with them. Franco, best concert for me was Tito Puente and his small club band.
Mine was Presidents of the United States of America.
Yeah, they came and went real quick, but I completely forgot about them until you just.
Man, that was probably my favorite band to see live. They were freaking awesome. We were in a casino in Biloxi, and there were so many people jumping up and down that the ceiling tiles were falling off on the slot machines.
Wow, no shit.
Yeah, it was a great concert.
Yeah, they were around for just a short period of time, and I remember them as being pretty good.
Yeah, they actually were around for a long time, but they just were only like a flash in the pan for big,
Yeah,
right?
right.
But they had some really good albums.
The band that I want to see live is Go Go Bordello. They play Nashville every once in a while. Every couple of years they'll come through. I missed them the last time. Next time I'm definitely going to say that's the only. I got to say that's probably the only band out there today that I really have any desire to go see.
Yeah, Mike in. He says, "Yeah, PUSA dude makes music for infants and children now." Yeah, he did a thing called like Casper Baby Pants or something. He does like that's exactly what it is for like kids TV shows and stuff. But yeah, they were badass for a while. Let's see, who did I get into after that? Reverend Horton Heat.
Okay, so well, to follow up on my question about spark plug mass, the vid where it was a subject was about an air-cooled engine. In that situation, any amount of extra cooling would help, I suppose. Okay, that makes sense.
I'm just wondering how you change the mass. Like, did you use a plug do you drill the plug hole out and put a bigger plug in it?
I don't know. George Bangle, Zappa. I'm a big Zappa fan. I love Zappa. Let's see. You used to hang out at the Guar house. Actually, Joseph, there's a girl that pops on here every once in a while. Her name is Katie Best. And she was friends with the whole Guar crew. And they were supposed to play at my coffee house here in Murfreesboro back in like 2003, 2004. And something happened. I don't remember what happened, but they couldn't make it.
Oh, Vince Rencher is saying, Dallas, did I see the Jay Leno video on the 62 Turbo Buick? That was a 62 Turbo Olds, and that's a guy that's normally on here. What does he go by on here? Turbo Oldsmobile? The guy you met at the
Old Jetfire.
Old Jetfire.
Old
That's what his
Jetfire.
name is on here. Yeah, he's normally on here. That was his car.
PP official D. Snyder is 7 years older than you. Yeah, he may very well be, but he wasn't. They hadn't made it at the time that his father was my customer. Derby Preston, Tony, respect the OG. Me, help me get my 65 Stanton 331 stroker running, please. God, where are you?
Put the timing at 8.
Zugi, did you see the Jay Leno video of the Reliant Robin? It was hilarious. I never saw the Jay Leno video, but the one that Jeremy Clarkson did was fantastic.
Dude, I love all the Clarkson stuff. I religiously watch what is that, the Grand Tour now?
Yeah.
I think that's what they got, right? Did you see where they did the Citron? Where he says the Citron, it says here in the owner's manual, the Citron can handle like a 300-foot drop. Right,
I didn't see that one.
Because the Citron is the one with that weird suspension, right? Like that.
Yeah,
I don't think it's air, but it's
a hydraulic suspension.
Hydraulic.
And
that's what it is.
It
articulates.
together.
Yeah. So they dropped it from a freaking helicopter like 300 feet up, and then it just like explodes into a million pieces like you kind of expect it to, right? And he's like, I messed up the translation. You can actually have 15 eggs on the front seat. That guy is so funny, man. Oh.
Each wheel has a hydraulic pod.
Yeah, well, the coolest thing was that the whole show, this one was called, I can't remember, Menage a Trois or something like that, right? And it was nothing but French vehicles.
Okay.
And you got to watch it. It's hilarious.
Is it the Grand Tour?
Yeah, the Grand Tour. So you know how they did a regular TV show, and then they stopped making that. And now they just make these specials, and so they'll be like 2-3 hours long, right? And the latest one was the Menage a Trois or whatever you want to call it, but it was all about French cars, and they were driving some of these Citrons around, and it's like he was in love with the way that it rode. Right, because it's absolutely amazing. It's a completely different suspension system. But he said the French tried to re-engineer the engineering of the automobile like every couple of years. So they had 2 cars side by side, and one was like I don't remember whatever model, and then another one was a different model of the same car. And then they had the hoods open, right? The bonnets open, and one was a 4-cylinder transverse, and then the other one was a V6 longitudinal. Same car, same exact car. Yeah, it's like
what episode is this?
Menage a Trois or Menage a Trois or something.
Okay,
like that.
do you know what season it is? Because
It's like the
4 or 5
newest
seasons.
video.
Newest one? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check it out. I haven't seen. Let's see. Wow. Dallas. Look at
It's
the time.
flown by. Even though it was
geez.
like, I definitely, when we sat down, I was not really feeling tonight.
Yeah, I know. This was a good night, though.
Yeah.
Rollins Band. It's a coffee house, right? I'll tell just a quick story, right? I had so the place I had in New York, we had 2 open mic nights. We had every Tuesday and every Thursday were open mic nights, and we used to get a line like around the block, and we would start at like 9:00.
Oh, there you go. Canarge a Trois. That's what it's called.
What's it called?
Canarge a Trois.
Okay.
Like Carnage a Trois.
So we had 2 open mic nights every Tuesday and every Thursday, and they would start at like 9:00 at night, 10:00 at night, and they would go all night long. And then like the last people would be playing as we were next door to a train station, and the last people would be performing and whatnot as commuters were starting to go to the train station to go to Manhattan. It was a crazy scene. It was a lot of fun. So anyway, we get this group of women come to us, right? Of older women. They were like in their 50s, okay. And it's like 4 of them. And they were like, we want to come to the open mic night. Do we have to, sign up for a list or anything like that? And I was like, I wanted to tell them, it's like, this may not be for you. This is like, this is a little crazy. Sometimes, things get nutty. And they were like, well, we do readings. We like to do readings. So I says, well, what do you read? So they were like, and they listed off like whatever poetry or whatever it was that they did. And I thought it was cool, but I knew it wasn't going to fit that atmosphere, right? So before I could even say anything, one of the customers, one of the regulars said, why don't you guys do Henry Rollins, right? So they didn't even know who Henry Rollins was. So they said, okay. They came back like a month later, right? And they did this whole like hour-long performance reading Henry Rollins. And it was like to watch these conservative middle-aged ladies at like 2:00 in the morning doing Henry Rollins. It was just over the top. It was like surreal.
I saw it. And those open mic nights will pull in some of the strangest stuff, right? Like I saw, Jewel. You remember Jewel?
Oh, what a pretty girl with a weird tooth.
Right.
Yeah.
She was living in a car in San Diego, and she did open mic night at this bar I used to go to, like when we were in Port. We used to be called Fibber McGee's, I think is what it was called. She did open mic night in there, and she was like, literally, she's like, yeah, just throw me whatever, because I'm living in my car in the parking lot. And everybody would laugh, right? But then she walk out and got in her goddamn car, and they're like, holy crap, this girl's literally homeless, right? But I guess she had come from Alaska or something to play in Southern California because that was the scene at the time. But I also met the Offspring?
Yeah, they were okay. They were a decent band.
And I met them in Guam.
Guam?
Guam. They had a layover in Guam.
Oh, nice.
And they came down to like one of the local bars at the Hotel Row and met them in there.
I gotta tell one more coffee house story before I call it a night, right? So this was the place. I had places here in Tennessee, but they weren't quite the same atmosphere as the one I had in New York, right? So the open mic nights were starting to become cumbersome. Like I would want to go home at like 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm done, and there would still be people lined up wanting to play. You'd still have a full room. So I had this guy. His name was Terrible Tim. Okay. Listen, you can't make this stuff up, and you can find him. You can find him if you search YouTube, search Terrible Tim. Okay, and Terrible Tim, he was out there. Okay, he was like out there. I used to
like
go to his
Tiny
house.
Tim, but he got
weirder. No. Terrible Tim was a nitrous oxide freak.
Okay.
So you go to Terrible Tim's house to go hang out with Terrible Tim.
There's
there were nitrous cylinders everywhere. He had cylinders, okay, and masks. And we would sit around.
Dude, are you into racing? No. Oh, okay.
You drop by his house, and he would just right away, as soon as you got near a canister, he'd hand you a mask. and you just hang out and do nitrous all night. The headaches you would have.
Oh, I'm sure.
The next day you were useless. You couldn't do anything. So this was Terrible Tim's shtick. He was a nitrous oxide freak, right? Yeah, and he even did a song called Nitrous Oxide. So Tim, okay, how can I explain this to you? His goal was to be the most offensive thing that he could be. That was his shtick. Okay, so he would go to like open mic nights at churches and whatnot and do all of these freaking songs. Like, I mean, and he would get thrown out of every open mic night. He would literally get, and he would do this all across New York City. Okay, he would go to an open mic night with the goal of being thrown out. That was his stated goal, right? So I would have him come in on our open, like the Thursday open mic night. I'd have him come in, and when I wanted the night to end, when I was done, I would put Terrible Tim on, and Terrible Tim would do 2 or 3 songs, and the place would clear out. Like he, by the time he got to like his 4th song, there was nobody there. It was just Tim playing to me, and whoever was working for me to be mopping the floor, and Tim is doing his thing, right? It was so. I mean, and Brother Man Bill, he had this. His manager, right, Brother Man Bill. He was an odd character, big giant guy, pillhead, crazy pillhead, and Brother Man Bill comes. It was winter. It was like January. It was like 8 degrees outside. Okay, and we used to sell these chocolate chip cookie brownies. Okay, chocolate chip cookie dough brownies. So Brother Man Bill comes in the door, like bursts in the door. It's like snowing out. And he's got no shirt on. He's bare chested, right? Okay. And he's like, I need a brownie, right? And he's sweating profusely. I says, Brother Man, here, have a brownie. You know what I mean? So he eats this brownie. He was a big guy. And shoves the brownie in his mouth. And he says, I need one for the road. I says, take as many as you want, right? I says, Brother Man, you're all jacked up. I says, why don't we stop, man? I drive you over to the hospital, right? I says, you're going to have to go to the hospital. This is the second person I did this to. Because the first one was my friend Dead John, right? But I says, Brother Man, I got to take you. Let's go to the hospital. He says, no, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. I'm good, right? Sweating profusely. And he takes brownies. He shoves them in his pants pocket. He's not wearing any shirt at all. He's completely bare chested. And he goes out and just like walks off into the snow in, just bare chested. Sweating profusely. And he was like dead the next day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, go figure. Geez, hypothermia, maybe?
No, he just
pills.
That was it. He did himself in. But there is a song called Brother Man Bill. Like he says, if you guys into really obscure, offensive, obnoxious things, right? Terrible Tim, and the Terrible Tim Nation.
Man, I just figured that guy would have died of hypothermia. He's sweating and walk outside where it's 8 degrees, and I'm sure you lose like 100 degrees immediately.
No, bro, his veins were popping. He was just completely maxed out.
There wasn't room for one more pill. Oh, well, and that's it for the evening, folks. Hopefully you learned about Terrible Tim and Brother Man Bill.
Chris Freemasson, is that why you always say Brother Man? Yeah, that's just a way that we used to greet each other in New York.
That was a Northeast
when you felt close to somebody, you call them a brother man.
I had a buddy from Richmond that did the same thing.
Yeah. So, but that was his actual name. His name, I don't even know what his last name was. Right, I have no idea. But we only knew him as Brother Man Bill.
It could have been Bill Smith, right? Like the most common name.
It could have been anything. I have no idea. Just it was Brother Man Bill. Okay.
I think that's it for this evening.
I think that's it. I think we ended it with the death of Brother Man Bill.
Yeah. Well, now and Fubar has already put up the links for AHRA Online. Go there, buy some merch, do whatever you got to do. Membership, whatever you can to support us. That we got to have some kind of income to pay for this. Uncle Joe's happy gas, I guess. But No Name Nationals coming up September 30th and October the 1st. So, and if you plan on jumping in that the No Name 500, you better do it ASAP because John and I are working on something. So,
all right. So, and when are you going to have a live with John?
Our next live is March the 25th.
March 25th on whose channel?
John Wilburn's channel.
On John
yeah.
Wilburn's channel. So March 25th, John Wilburn's channel. If you're interested in the No Name Nationals, you want to be there and talk about that. And with that, our awesome mods, John, Ari, Fubar, Zero, thank you guys so much. Always appreciate it. They are the best mods, right? Everybody contributed with Super Chat. Thank you so much. You buy our parts, you buy our gas. You do. This is what keeps the wheels turning, and we're forever grateful. And everybody who just contributed with their conversation and their presence, thank you. And you guys are part of the best automotive community in all of YouTube. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And what else is there? I think that's it, right? I'll see you Sunday night. I think.
Yeah. Are you doing anything special Sunday?
I may have Steve Maggs on Sunday. I don't know. I don't want to say I do or not. I'll text. Actually, I'm going to text Steve Maggs right now as soon as we hang up, as soon as we go over here, to see if we're doing that. So I hope you guys had fun. And anything else you want to?
See you next Wednesday.
That's it. He'll see you next Wednesday, and I'll see you on Sunday, or I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you either way. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much. I'm hitting the end stream button now. Oh, I have to hit a second end now.